difficult singles, couples in a crisis, and freshly heartbroken ones. Please note the email and my WhatsApp number and Telegram number at the end of this video. Write it down, write me a letter, and we can have an unbinding getting to know talk over some of the tools we have nowadays, okay? So now check this out and hope to get to know you, your art astrologer. Ciao.
Welcome to my channel. My name is Leonardo, and today I want to discuss with you what love is.
What is love anyway? Does anybody anyway?
I once asked my spiritual teacher, "What is love?" His answer was very interesting. He told me that the truth of true love is always based on 4 pillars. Otherwise, it's not real love, but a fake and more or less betrayal. These 4 pillars are as follows. First, knowledge. Second, respect. Third, concern, care for the person. And fourth, responsibility. And let's be honest, if we think about it more deeply, these 4 points are actually completely correct on a moral and ethical level, as well as philosophically, psychologically, and spiritually. Then isn't it the case that everything else is nothing more than exploitation, polished egoism, and sensual gratification, where we only look out for our own interests? Whenever I give a lecture, I am used to ask the audience right from the start, how many of you have ever had a broken heart? About 70% of the people, if not more, immediately respond with a yes. And then I'll follow up with a second question. Who of you has ever been in a relationship and suddenly another person walked through the door to whom you felt more attracted than to the person you were in a relationship with? Perhaps fewer people have responded at this point, but everyone immediately understands what I mean. This experience is certainly one of the most unpleasant, awkward we can ever imagine in our lives. We naturally feel guilty and think we're being unfair. Our partner, of course, feels cheated on. They become jealous. Often, both parties leave such a relationship with a truly uneasy feeling after such a situation. Either one or both parties are heartbroken after. In the most absurd cases, a couple even tend to continue to live together for several years, although one or both of them are thinking about someone else. In other words, this is the classical case of cheating. Precisely to avoid such an embarrassing situation from the outset, in the Vedic context, in the context of Kundali matching, means in the case of true knowledge about compatibility on all levels. The very first step in the search for Mr. or Mrs. Right is to proof the astrological birth chart based on day, month, year, exact birth time and birthplace of the proposals mutually. Kundali, translated from the Sanskrit, means something like auspicious. It's all about choosing the optimal, auspicious partner. True to Goethe's motto, test whoever binds themselves, a couple's horoscopes are rigorously examined. This begins with examining the connection for similar temperaments, similarity in karma, attraction, good communication, and compatibility in everyday activities. The astrologer thus asks whether the potential couple's personalities are compatible and can function together in the long term. Do their habits fit? Do their life paths fit? In other words, is the relationship optimally long-lasting? And does the partnership have a good chance of functioning for life? And at this point, let's return to the 4 points of love. If in a detailed analysis, the couple scores are poorly on the point system, transits and partner significator in the birth chart, we can be absolutely certain that the respect will go lost either after 5 weeks, 4 months, or 3 years, but at the very latest after 7 years of the relationship, and we stop caring about the person. And consequently, at some point, we no longer take responsibility for the other person. And on the top, we might stop taking responsibility for our own integrity too. That means if we don't love the person, we simply stop working on ourselves, and what's much easier, blame the other person for our mistakes. This is the way how many relationships nowadays turn and change, in the sense that the so-called love from yesterday gets deactivated. The couple simply stops working on themselves and, which is much easier, blames the other for their own mistakes, or, more fundamentally, for choosing the wrong partner. When respect is lost in this way, one path goes left and the other right, and we only play at being in a relationship. The relationship somehow no longer has any shine or a deeper meaning. We somehow no longer have a shared love body. The future is veiled and unclear. The karma wheel of our relationship stops spinning. It's just like when you suddenly unplug a fan. The fan just keeps swinging and then eventually comes to a complete stop. There is this world-famous song from Nelly Furtado and James Morrison. It says, "We are playing house in the ruins of us. It couldn't be put better. The wheel of karma is spinning, and as a result, we live together like two walking dead." In my book, The Optimum Relationship, which unfortunately is not translated in English yet, I talk about there being 3 levels in a relationship. The first level is Mars-Venus. With Mars-Venus, due to mutual attraction, we first fall in love. Then comes Moon-Saturn, which is the beginning of everyday life. The moon represents everyday life. Saturn represents testing. Arguments over trivial matters. We nag at each other. We realize that the prince is no longer a prince, and the princess is no longer a real princess. We see the prince and princess unveiled, so to speak. And then comes the most important level, and that is the sun level. The sun level represents the couple's goals, common visions, and shared interests. This means their egos should really mesh well, so that the match can make easier plans together. Of course, everyone can have some isolated interests or hobbies too. Nevertheless, the sun level is very important because if we look at the lowest level, for example, the shared interest in starting a family, it will become latest clear what's going on by the time the children are 18. Yes, having children together is, so to speak, the least interest or the lowest interest we can share. But here we go. By the time these children are out of the house, the couple may once again be faced with the naked truth that, apart from raising children, they had too little in common. Often these marriages are on the brink of divorce or separation when the couple is between 40 and 55 years old. The problem at this level is that we still have no knowledge here. More than 20 summers have passed and we are still missing the fundamental psychological and astrological insight of who we are in the relationship to the you. And also in this midlife crisis, the Vedic Kundali matching would do both parties good. Understanding the position of Sun and Jupiter in the chart, as well as the different planetary period of both, is the beginning of understanding how the shared goals and visions could look now, or to understand that this might be the end. Each couple has to have at least 1 or 2 common focal points. Ideally, this could be a spiritual focal point. Something, dare I say it, that might even connect them beyond death. Therefore, this question of whether a couple has a lasting future shouldn't be asked at the end of a relationship, when it's already too late, but should be asked at the beginning of a relationship. Because a match that is astrologically based on ignorance, that is, one that scores poorly on the point system, shared transits, the Dara-Karaka, the partner's significator in the horoscope, the ruler of the 7th house, and the position of Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, has the potential to destroy your entire life. If the astrological chemistry and the astrological future transits don't match, in other words, if the point of knowledge is too weak, the respect, concern, and responsibility are only very weakly felt, if at all, or perhaps not at all. Instead, everyone pursues their own cause and fights for their own interests. So, here's my conclusion. In my opinion, a true relationship should have sufficient astrological compatibility, I've observed one thing again and again. The mind is constantly accepting, rejecting, accepting. Today, yes, tomorrow, no, and then totally no. The pop singer Ariana Grande once released a song about this, which, as I release this video, has 850 million views. I am speaking about the song, Thank You Next. This song is the proof of the high level of nowadays confusion. An important consideration in this regard is that we don't throw out a partnership proposal too early, because some things start out sweet and then turn bitter, and others, perhaps the very ideal partnership for us, start out bitter and difficult, but become increasingly mature and sweeter over time. Therefore, above the mind, whose function is to constantly accept and reject, comes the intelligence. And did you notice the fact that the ego is still above the intelligence, especially when it comes to practice forgiveness? Sometimes it actually would be really intelligent to forgive someone, or to ask for forgiveness, because that's the way the relationship could develop further. But because you're in the ego, you simply don't forgive or ask for forgiveness. You're too much hurt, you're too much proud, and that's why the ego takes precedence over intelligence. And so, it's really not intelligent to begin a relationship on the ego level. The best level is again the spiritual Kundali matching level. If spiritual compatibility exists, the mind, intelligence, and ego can be transcended, no matter how much they chatter. Yes, mind, intelligence, and false ego might chatter all they want. They might cry out and wanting to rebel, but this time, they will not win. Simply because there's a soul connection. The screaming mind shouts out, and the intelligence comments, "Oh no, not this person." The ego stumbles. But fact is, you'll get together with such and such person, because you simply belong together on a far more deeper level. But often, as I said, you may not recognize that person, and may even be mistaken. You may be subject to a hallucination that someone else is the right person, only to wake up one later morning in an unpleasantly way and realize that you lost your chance at the right address. Therefore, before you run after someone in the future, or idolize them, before you tear each other apart in a relationship, play for some stupid power and control games, and try to patch together and get a grip on something that started out sweet, but then turned bitter, and is currently degenerating into meaninglessness, perhaps you should next time turn to an astrologer, well, maybe me, and first examine your so-called love in the light of full, enlightened, corrected Vedic astrology. I will end here, but not without invite you to examine whether your partnership stands up to the test of the Kundali matching, not without offering to you to figure out if the road you're moving presently as a couple is also maximum auspicious and will bring you both optimum fortune and meaningfulness in the end. Thank you very much for watching this highly intellectual video up to this point. I remain your art astrologer, Leonardo.
The second-hand unwise. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting. Time after time. Time after time.
The second-hand unwise. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. And if you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. And if you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. And if you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. Time after time. Time after time.